I don't care what Stu says. Mike Rowe's one of the smartest, funniest guys.
Oh.
Well, did you hear what he was saying about you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, my gosh, Mike.
It was sad.
Was
it was sad, Mike.
Stu came in a little while ago, and he was like, Mike Rowe is stupid.
That's what he said. He said the biggest, I think was the exact quote, the biggest dummy I've ever met.
The biggest dummy I've ever met.
It was,
and I'm like,
I don't know
man,
why.
I don't know why. I think he's an intellectual giant. What are you doing?
There's no accounting for standards or taste anymore.
I know. Man. Well, anyway, I don't care what Stu says. It's always great to have you here.
Hey, it's great to be had.
Always great to have you here. Mike has a new book out, Profoundly Disconnected, and they've only printed 5,000 copies of this, and every dime of it goes to charity, his charity, Microworks. You go to microworks.com to get it.
That'll work.
Microworks.com or profoundlydisconnected.com. And what Mike does with the money, only God knows, but what he claims to do with the money is it could really try to turn our whole attitude around on education and on working for a living. There's nothing wrong with having a hard-working job.
Just trying to change the world, Glenn.
That's all you're trying to do.
It's no big deal. Just trying to change the way people think, feel, and act, and define a good job, a good education, that sort of thing.
Right.
You know, it's a PR campaign for hard work, skilled labor, risk, entrepreneurship.
Can I tell you something? You have gotten, how much of your day do you spend scratching your head going, what the hell's wrong with people?
Thanks to you, a lot of it.
Oh.
Let me just walk you through last week briefly,
right.
okay?
Yeah, all right.
Well, it actually starts a couple of weeks ago. I got a call from Walmart, and they say, "Hey,
great commercial."
Well, thanks. They show it to me, and they say, "What do you think?" You know, the theme of the commercial is "Work is a beautiful thing." Microworks has basically been saying that same thing since 2008. I look at the spot; it's about the reopening of factories. Right? It's very simple. They say, "Would you like to narrate it?" I said, "Yeah, I would." You know, we got a lot of shared real estate around this issue, and so I was totally into it. So I narrate it. I go home. The Olympics come on. I see the commercial. Oh, that looks pretty good. I go over to my Facebook because now, you know, I'm trying to be socially savvy. Mm-hmm. And there's a conversation unfolding about all sorts of things that are interesting to me. And I watch it, you know, and, you know, it's getting fairly heated and passionate. And I think, well, you know what? I'm enjoying a nice bottle of Meritage and having a very civilized evening. So I cut and paste a couple.
You're right, Stu. He's a dummy.
So
dope.
So I cut and paste a couple of questions that are particularly acrimonious, and I address them with what I believe to be an equal measure of humor, directness, and what you call verisimilitude. Right? Mm-hmm. I post these things and I go to bed. Mm-hmm. I get up around 3 a.m. because, you know, that's what I do nowadays. You know how
I know, I do.
And I just peek at the Facebook, and I see that 1.3 million people have responded to my post. The next morning I get up, and I see that The Blaze has taken some of what I've written and responded to it with a really nice article that makes some points that I hadn't thought about. I mean, you know, Stu might have thought about it with like that.
Oh, yeah.
But my tiny reptilian backward.
Right. I know.
You know,
no, I know. He knows.
Yeah. I couldn't do it. So suddenly, all this, it's just blowing up. Over the next 5 or 6 hours, 7 million people began to interact with a series of posts motivated by this simple commercial. And with your help, we've got this massive, Glenn, I'm telling you, a massive conversation going on.
It's fantastic.
Suddenly, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, everybody wants to talk about all the heat I'm taking online because I appear to be a spokesman for Walmart. I'm not a spokesman for Walmart. I'm a fan of what they're trying to do. And by the way, just so we're clear, the whole point of the commercial is to talk about an investment in buying American goods.
Hold on just a sec. Do we have
the
commercial?
It's a $250 billion investment over 10 years.
Sarah, can you find the commercial so we can display it? In case you haven't heard it yet, it is really one of the best. It's one of those, you know, hey, Detroit is back kind of commercials that are coming from a car company that don't mean a damn thing. They're shipping all the jobs away. Yeah, we're an American-built car. Yeah, bull crap you are. Anyway, it's one of those, except this one, they actually, sorry about that, Mike. I think you're one of those bullcrap car.
Hey, we should talk about that too, because times are changing.
Yeah. So here's Walmart, and they actually back it up with $250 million.
No, $250 billion.
Oh, that's right.
It's
$250
trillion, Glenn. Yeah, while we watch the commercial, you and I are going to talk about zeros and the impact they have on numbers.
Yeah, I know. So now, how has this ended up?
Well, who knows? We're right in the middle of it now. But the bottom line is this. It's a hell of a thing when somebody you've been trained to hate suddenly does something that you agree with, right? It creates a kind of cognitive dissonance in the minds of a lot of people. So the people who are having the conversation about why Walmart's bad are suddenly confronted with a pledge from Walmart. Look at this as a PO to the United States of America for $250 billion. That's what it is. And it's really unnerving and difficult for a lot of people to talk only about that one thing. They want to have a big, broad, divisive conversation. And look, I'm not the guy to have it with because really, I'm not Walmart's spokesman. I narrated this ad, and they're becoming a really interesting partner for me around American manufacturing. And hopefully the same is true. I'll narrate more if they ask me. But where it's headed, I hope, is a kind of challenge. Because look, forget about Walmart, the company, or Walmart, the store. This is a retailer that's got the resources to fundamentally stimulate the economy in a way that might actually stimulate something.
And not printing money.
So what happens if Best Buy or Home Depot or Lowe's or pick your favorite company out of the Fortune 500? What happens if all those companies start to say, you know something, in relative terms, we need to follow suit. We simply need to do it. If that happens, look, I'm not an eternal optimist, but if that happens, I think we're back in the game.
So when did because what I loved in your response, there's nothing inherently bad about being big, and there's nothing inherently good about being small.
Right.
Make that point.
Well, look, Gladwell made it better than I did, and I know you're friends with Malcolm. His book, David and Goliath, is really, really interesting.
Yep.
Because it just challenges all of the things that we've been trained to assume are true about all kinds of things.
Yep.
So, look, Walmart's an easy target. You're an easy target. I'm an easy target. We're public. We take positions, and we have an agenda. I think that far more relevant to the argument about big versus small is this whole notion of PR. Like, a lot of people have said, Mike, don't you get it? It's just PR. And my response has been, yeah, I do get it. And it's not just PR. It's PR. And guess what? American manufacturing needs PR.
Right.
Skilled labor needs PR. Alternative education needs PR.
You know, but in their case, it's not just PR. It's $250 billion. That's not PR.
No.
That's not, quite honestly, I saw that, what was it, the Cadillac commercial. It's a great commercial. Well, like, I don't know if you've seen it where the guy's walking out and he's like, we went to the moon. We got bored.
Yeah.
And it's a great ad. It's a great ad. But then it's for General Motors. And they're like, we like to do it ourselves. Bull crap, you do. You took all of our money and you lost it, and then you lied to us and said you paid us back. You didn't.
Right.
So, that's a lie. Here, Walmart is. They're not saying, hey, and we believe in this stuff, and we should all work hard, and we're buying all our crap from China. They're actually saying, yeah, we're buying some crap from China, but we're also investing $250 billion.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Sure. And look, it's also equally fair and relevant to say that forget about what Walmart's buying from China. What are we buying from China?
Amen.
Where was that coat? Where was this shirt made? I don't,
right. Right.
Look,
you know what kills me? Is Apple is such a good company and they just love people so much and they're about the little man. What about the people who are throwing themselves off the roofs of their buildings in China to make the iPad? If you really want to be consistent, if you want to be more than just a squeaky wheel, if you really want to be consistent, you would not buy a single Apple product. You wouldn't buy most products in America.
See, that's where I think it's kind of a sucker's bet, right? It's easy for guys like us to say to the American consumer, hey, you got a problem? Shop someplace else. You can't count on the American consumer to do anything that's really not in his or her best interest.
Right.
I mean, that's how we're wired.
It's the invisible hand. No, but it's the invisible hand of the market. It is Adam Smith.
Right. And it's Hayek. It's Friedman. I get all that. But we get trapped in a conversation about blame. So is it the consumer's fault for not insisting on American? Is it China's fault for taking the jobs? Is it Walmart's fault for shipping the jobs? All these things are going to be answered differently depending on what side of the aisle you sit on. But one thing is for sure, Walmart's not a manufacturer. They're merchants. If these merchants say to suppliers and makers of goods, hey, you come back here, we'll make it worth your while. We'll make some kind of accommodation. Again, I can't speak for Walmart. I don't know the terms of their deal, but they've done something to bring those people back. That's where the action is. And if we start making stuff here again, a lot of good things will follow consequentially. And that's the thing we've talked about before, and I love to talk to you about it because the temptation to confuse causes with symptoms is the thing that's motivating pretty much every major issue that I can see that's worth talking about today.
All right. The name of the book is Profoundly Disconnected, The True Confession from Mike Rowe. It's only available. There are only 5,000 copies of these, and they've all been personally licked by Mike. So, you know, you've got a little bit of, you don't have his signature, but you have a little bit of his DNA on every book.
You made it creepy, man. It was going so well.
I think there's some disturbing pictures of you in here. But anyway, it's you can get it at microworks.com. You get it today for this audience, and all the money goes to charity. So I'd love to sell all these out today for him.
Hey, can I compliment you real quick? To interrupt your plugging of my book.
Stop everything else everybody's doing. Even if you're driving a car, just slam on the brakes. Listen, he's got something important to say.
One of the last things Glenn said to me last time I saw him was, honestly, if you have time, you should write a book or something. So on the flight home, I wrote this book. And look, take this for the disclaimer it is. This is a one-page book. All right. My confession takes one paragraph. I wrote it on a BlackBerry. Okay. But when I got home, I started thinking, you know, this is a very skinny manuscript. It's on page 1, Glenn. You can find it.
No, I know.
So while we were talking about all this, I thought, well, you know what? I should get my mom to write the foreword. And then I thought maybe I should write a preface too, because I had a little bit of time. And then I wrote an introduction. And then my partner, Mary, was like, hey, you know what? You've got all these articles you've written over the years. Why don't you put those in the appendix? So we did that. And then, of course, there was an afterword and a dedication page. And the next thing you know, I got a book.
But here's what I really like about this book is because Mike takes himself very seriously because he's got a lot to say. Right in the middle of the book is the chapter is called A Bunch of Blank Pages. And it appears to be just a bunch of blank pages there in the book, which...
In order to preserve the structural integrity of the book as most people understand it, you need to create enough space between the front and back cover, Glenn. You know this. You're an author yourself.
So I want you to know that he has put a lot of time and energy and thought into this book. Now, if he was just pocketing the money, which I can't prove that he's not, if he was just pocketing the money, it would be wrong. But he's claiming that it all goes to charity. And so, I'm just humble enough to believe him. Stu, on the other hand, who thinks that he's dumb as a box of rocks, says no.
I never liked that guy. Listen, in the interest of complete transparency,
yes,
and because I hate the very notion of buyer's remorse, I'd be willing to read the entire thing. It'll take 35 seconds. I'll read you the most important page of the book if you want. This is my confession, and it's based on a theory that if everybody agreed with me, all our problems would go away within a week.
All right, we'll do that coming up in just a second. Also, let's play the Walmart ad here, and then I break for commercials, and then we'll come back, and Mike will read the entire important part of the book.
The whole thing. Honey, get in here. He's reading from a book.
Yeah, this is radio.
It's the best radio ever.
This is radio at its best.
At one time, I made things, and I took pride in the things I made. And my belts whirred, and my engines cranked. I opened my doors to all, and together we filled pallets and trucks. I was mighty. And then one day, the gears stopped turning. But I am still here, and I believe I will rise again. We will build things, and build families, and build dreams. It's time to get back to what America does best.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Now,
because work is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, whatever. All I'm thinking about the whole time is, Stu, he's coming on TV tonight. I need a bunch of scripts that are so overly written that he can narrate tonight.
I would be pleased and proud to read on your show anything you write.
So we just need some narration. Can you whip that up for
Got
us?
it, sure.
But I mean, really good, quality, really substantive, something that means something.
Sure, got
that
it.
he can read tonight at 5:00. Mike will be joining me on this TV show tonight. It's going to be quite an ordeal to have him get all the way through this. So we'll set that up. But also, we were talking in the break. I said, Mike, I thought we heard a little something here about the car companies. And then Stu came in and said, I'm not talking about car companies. That's what he said. That's what he said.
Why am I being tortured
That's
today?
what I heard. Pat, did you hear that?
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
heard.
that's what you heard.
Yeah.
And I said, no, we are going to talk about the car company thing, and I want to know a little bit about that. And so I want to talk to Mike about what's happening at Ford. Mm-hmm. Is there a little bit of news there?
Well, it depends on how you define news. Certainly in my personal world, it's news. But after 7 years, we're going in different directions, and I'm wishing them every possible success that any car company could ever have. But a great run for me. But Ford and I are, not Ford and I.
It's an interesting thing, and I want to talk about that coming up in just a little bit more, in a little bit more detail, because I think Mike is where a lot of people are. I got to stand with the people who are standing up and doing things. Walmart, it seems to be one of those companies that really standing up and doing things. I mean, at least they're, everything means something now. We're running out of time to just be spectators.
It's not a dress rehearsal. It's happening. We're in it.
Okay, so he's gonna like beautiful poetry. Mike will be reading from his new book, Profoundly Disconnected, available at microworks.com right now. All the proceeds go to charity. Buy one now. My dream world, The Blaze would have a show, a daily show from Mike Rowe. It'd have a daily show from Malcolm Gladwell. But in my dream world, I also have $1 billion.
Well, you wouldn't after those shows went on the air. I can tell you that.
Exactly right. Mike has more to say that the American people need to hear than I think. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anybody else in America that I would rather have you listen to, because I know every time I'm with him, you teach me something, and you do, and you just know how to distill it and say it in such a way where you just can't argue with it. I want to get into the minimum wage. I want to talk about a little bit more about what happened with Ford, but I want you to go ahead and read a little of the book. Now,
Okay.
This is from Profoundly Disconnected. This is a book that he spent almost an entire airplane ride. Was it a coast-to-coast airplane ride? Or?
No, it was from Dallas back to San Francisco.
Oh, my gosh. How did you...
So what I'm about to read right now was originally written on a BlackBerry. And what it started as was the distillation of everything I learned from Dirty Jobs to the most important thing I learned from Dirty Jobs to what could be, in my view, if we all agreed on one thing, what sort of impact could that one thing have on everything from the skills gap to the infrastructure to unemployment to everything? So here's what this is my confession. All right. And you'll see, I'll show you, I've signed it, and there's a place for people to co-sign too. So this is an interactive book.
Wow, this is incredible.
Okay.
How did you get this done?
Here we go.
Yes.
You guys don't have any music or anything.
Do we have any music, Sarah? Can you put any music together?
I mean, I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
What
but
sort of feel are you looking for?
Yeah, what are you looking for?
Something wistful, yet earnest.
No, that's not.
That's playful and insane. So I'm looking for kind of a thoughtful, introspective, revealing, not bad. Little overwrought, but I like it. Go ahead, crank it up. Here we go. From page 1, Profoundly Disconnected, a true confession from Mike Rowe.
Yes.
I am an addict. I am addicted to smooth roads, hot water, and indoor plumbing. I am a slave to sturdy foundations and affordable energy. I depend on others to grow my food, and I rely on people I've never met to keep the lights on. I'm enamored of civilized life and totally reliant upon the hardworking men and women who provide it. I understand that without these people, without their skills and work ethic, polite society would crumble, and I would be in some very deep doo-doo. Signed by me, co-signed by you. Glenn, in a world where we all confessed our addiction to the aforementioned qualities, would we not be better prepared to have an intelligent discourse about the very things we define as problems? I rest my case.
And then he did. Then it's followed by a bunch of blank pages.
But an appendix chock full of prior thoughts.
No, you've got a lot of other things in there, but you've also got about 30 pages that are completely and totally blank, just so it looks like a thicker book than it is.
Not a lot of profound writings end with the word doo-doo.
No, they don't, Stu, and I thank you for pointing that out. I actually, if you take doo-doo and run it through a thesaurus, you'll see endless other possible synonyms, but I went for the childlike, yet,
Was poo-poo one of them?
Poo-poo was one of them, so was poo, and so was poop.
But you chose not to go with poo-poo.
No, I'm not a child, Pat.
So as Mike and I were in the break, he's sitting here, and I've got a bunch of computer screens. Most of them are blank, except one that keeps fascinating me is we're getting live feeds from the Ukraine, and they are Kiev's on fire today. And what happens there? Pretty simple. The Ukraine calls out and says, "Hey, we need help," and Russia comes in to help them, and lo and behold, Putin has Ukraine back. Congratulations on that. But that's what's coming, and the whole world is being set on fire, and it's being set on fire because of income inequality, Mike.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's income inequality.
Oh, how about that? I thought we were going to go with, who said, it was Santa Ana, right? You don't learn from history, you're pretty much doomed to repeat it. We've seen this.
I was going with Churchill, but
that's not bad either.
I'll take Santa Ana.
Whoever smelt it, dealt it. I think that was Dr. Seuss, but look, no. I'm not sure, Glenn. There's a lot going on.
So how do you argue on income inequality? Because that's what people believe now, that there are equal outcomes.
Remember when I was in middle school or maybe even elementary school, I didn't get grades for my classes. I got 2 grades for each class, right? I got my grade, and then there was this column for effort. Mm-hmm. Remember A for effort?
I do.
So, in some courses, I would get an A for effort, but a C for an outcome because I tried real hard, but as it turns out, I was a moron. In other courses, I'd get an A for the outcome, but a C for effort because as it turns out, that stuff came easy and the teacher was a little discouraged because I kind of mailed it in. That's the way the world works, right?
And that's the only ones I ever got in trouble with my dad. The only ones he ever said. He would look at it, and if I got a D, but an A for effort, he'd say, "Good job."
Look, we've talked about it so many times, but when you're able to, you ought to try and identify the thing that you want to encourage and reward it as best you can. In my own little scholarship, we award work ethic scholarships. There are a lot of different ways to go. Some scholarships go with academic achievement, some go with need-based, some go with athletic achievement, others go with talent. But who's rewarding work ethic? Like really affirmatively rewarding it. Mm-hmm. So it's not that we don't reward those other things, but you have to choose. You have to respect the chronology of logic. And if it doesn't start with a willingness to try, then you're rewarding something else. And if you're rewarding that thing out of sequence, it doesn't mean the thing is bad. It just means you skipped ahead. That's what I meant before, cause and symptom, right? Garbage in, garbage out. If you start with, somebody wrote a book a while ago, really made me laugh because it's called Rowe, my last name, ROWE, but it stands for Results-Oriented Work Environment, which I really like because you start with, this is where we want to wind up, but now let's talk about how we can do it. Mm-hmm. So, look, effort and results aren't opposite things. They're 2 sides of the same coin.
What do you think about Keith Ellison said a couple of weeks ago? He's a congressman out of Minneapolis, and he said, the great thing is, sure, we lost 2.5 million jobs, but you're going to have more time to be at home and to maybe paint or to do whatever you want. We now found out the CBO says that we have lost how many jobs because of...
We would lose 500,000 jobs.
500,000 jobs because the president is raising the minimum wage himself unilaterally, and they said that it will cost 500,000 jobs. I mean, Uncle Sam is becoming a serial job killer. But their excuse is this is a good thing because people will have more free time to be able to do what they want.
Let me try and respond to that. Look, the easy and obvious thing to do is to say a political thing that I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. Let me say it a slightly different way.
Sure.
The first really fun lesson from Dirty Jobs that I made a whole special out of, because look, I don't have any original thoughts. Everything I think I know I learned from the dirt. And the first lesson had to do with passion. And it's based on a platitude that I believe is fundamentally wicked. You've heard it 1,000 times. Follow your passion, period. Follow your passion, period. People on Dirty Jobs are passionate about what they do, but almost to a man, they didn't follow it. You don't follow your passion into a sewer, but you can go into a sewer, learn how to be very good at what you do, learn to love it, and then prosper. So our alternative platitude regarding this topic was never follow your passion, but always bring it with you. What Ellison is arguing, and what a lot of people seem to believe, is that your passion, like some sort of pole star, should be your compass and your guide. And I think that's a false north, right? You don't need to identify the source of your happiness when you're 18 and spend the rest of your life chasing it. We read books about people who have done that and prospered. And so we think that that's the way. But in real life, the real life I've seen, the most passionate, engaged, successful, prosperous, happy, and balanced people never followed their passion. They brought it with them. And if they wanted to learn to paint or do something good for the soul, they did it in the cracks. I wrote a book on a plane, okay? Because
I don't know if we can call that a book.
I don't know if I could call it a plane either. It was a, it was a very weird afternoon.
Right, okay, good. All right.
But yeah, you get the point. You know, you can work in the cracks. You can do good things, and you do them on your own time.
Right.
Right? I mean, you don't get paid to follow your passion.
I've been saying to people just recently, I just gave a speech at a radio conference, and I heard somebody say in a speech before mine, you know, I can't find a job in talk radio because nobody will hire me because and unfortunately I followed him, and I said, yeah, I'm running one of those companies.
Yeah.
And I've got Blaze Radio up, and we're out of the top 20 streams, we're the only stream out of top 20 in America that has one feed. One. Yeah. Everybody else has a minimum of 50 feeds. And in the next year, we'll be top 10, and we'll have one feed.
Yeah.
And how did that start? And I've got two executives that their job is to make sure that thing is on the air every day, but their main job is to go and start to look at people who have podcasts. Because those people they're just sitting in their basement, they're sitting in their apartment, they're doing something. I got a guy who does Doc and Skip that do a show, and they got into a car and they went on the road for 30 days at their own expense. Yep. They just did it. And I said, stop telling me that you can't, you're being stopped by something. And there's never been more opportunity than there is right now. You can just do it. So do it.
I'm sitting here with you today because for the last 10 years, every single state that I've been to, every job I've worked on, I've seen one thing that's consistent: help wanted signs.
Yeah.
In spite of the headlines, in spite of everything I've heard, the people I've worked with on Dirty Jobs
but I'm
were always hiring.
For that.
Listen, Caterpillar, who I mentioned to you before, I've been working with them for a few years. Yeah. They paid me to write this fake book. That is to say, they paid for the publishing of the book. That's why all the money can come back to charity. And the reason that they did it is because they literally have thousands of jobs right now. Heavy equipment mechanics up in the high plains, good grief, $80,000, $90,000 a year. They'll train you for free. They can't find people.
I'm thinking about leaving. You almost talked me into it. I'm thinking about leaving it right now. I'm in New York City. I'm right behind you. I'm looking at Times Square going, High Plains? Really? What do I have to, where's the number to call?
1-800-freeze your butt off.
Back in just a second, and I want to go into, because Mike has parted company with Ford. And as you know, if you're a long-time listener of this program, I parted company with General Motors because for different reasons, I presume. But I love General Motors. I thought General Motors was on the right track. I drove their hydrogen car for a month. It was absolutely fantastic. New administration comes in. They take a bailout, and the first thing they do is abandon the hydrogen car. I talked to all their executives. That's not what they wanted to do. They believed in that damn thing, and I did too. And they just went a different direction. And I remember saying to them, yeah, I love you guys. I love you guys. I believe in you guys. But you're in bed now with the government, and you're going in you're selling yourself out. I know what you told me 3 months ago and what you're doing now. And there comes a time when a man just has to say, that was a 7-figure deal. And that was at a time we really needed it. Well, I walked away from it because it comes a time when a guy's got to say, you know what? I wish you well. You're doing great things. And I told them this. When you get yourself back on track on who you are, I'm there because I believe in you. I believe in the workers. I believe in what you were trying to do. You don't believe in it anymore. I want to hear a little bit of Mike and commenting on what's happening with him and his relationship for a long time at Ford.
How much time we got then?
We got about 90 seconds.
Right now?
Oh, no. Right now we have about 90 seconds.
Oh, okay.
On TV, we've got about 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So,
your fans should definitely change because it's just, I think we can do a lot with 40 minutes.
Yeah, I think we're just getting started. Tell me quickly about, your feeling that, being the guy with the hat and saying the funny lines on a Ford commercial time has come for that to.
Yeah, look, nothing bad to say. One of the finest companies in the history of companies.
Yeah.
Never mind the contribution to the automobile. They perfected mass assembly.
Right.
I'm a massive fan. Always have been.
Yeah.
Great run, 7 years. When Alan Mulally sat there in front of Congress and didn't take the money, I vowed to stay as long as they'd have me.
Right.
But honestly, what I'm really focused on right now is partnering around initiatives like the one we were talking about before. I want to talk about manufacturing. I want to talk about skilled labor. I want to talk about the idea that employers and employees aren't enemies of each other and that we've all got skin in the game. So that's the campaign I'm looking for.
We'll talk a little bit more about that tonight on the Blaze TV, 5 o'clock. See you then.